Welcome back. Man, that brings back so many memories.
I guess you know what we're going to talk.
Yep, no questions there.
That's nothing too easy.
That was too, yeah. So, good evening, everyone. Sunday night. Well, we didn't mention that in the last session.
Memorial Weekend.
Yep.
So, I don't know what you're up to this weekend, but you probably ain't sitting in front of a YouTube.
Well, this was kind of the spur of the moment thing, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But eventually maybe somebody will see it.
Oh, yeah. So.
What you need to do is Facebook.
Yeah.
I'll get out there to some people.
Oh, yeah. So, Abraham, or Abram,
To start with.
and then God changed the name to Abraham. What do we know about Abraham, or Abram? It's interesting that did you know, to kind of give you a little genealogy here, you got Adam lived long enough to know Methuselah, and Noah long enough to meet Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You don't get that just reading your Bible, but whenever you kind of just it out, it's like, oh wow, that is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think Abraham got to see about.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think he got to live to see about. Well, his grandparents lived to see him born, all but one or two, I think.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. Abraham. Well, you see, you got. Yeah. Shem.
And another thing,
Just about all of them.
so I just find it fascinating that, in
Well, that'd be something you've got to see your great grandfather.
yeah, and it's interesting too that there has been now legends. Are they fact or are they fiction? We think that that these people. If you think like the old Herman slayed the dragon, right? We think that of being a fairy tale, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there might be something to it. There's dozens and dozens of legends to where men used to live to be nearly 1,000. Why? Because I think it's kind of true, and they.
Well, it's like starting all over again with Adam.
Yeah.
You got to populate.
And then they really, really did live to be over 900 years old.
It's kind of like Noah here. He was about 500 years old before he started fathering any children.
Yep.
Do you think it seemed impossible with Abraham?
Yeah.
Well, look. That's what I call pretty virile.
Yeah. David?
So where we gonna start at?
So
there's a lot on Abraham.
there's
We just want to pick out a few spots
Yeah.
here.
well, let's first talk about who is Abram. With why did God change his name? Why did he lie to these people about his wife Sarai?
That was the Egyptian Pharaoh.
Yeah, there's a million things that you could just read and pick up and say, oh, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? What about this?
Yeah.
Good studies. If you want to go.
Well, let's do highlight a little bit here about he was from the land of Ur.
Yes. because hold on a second, because the whole point of this is we're just going to give you a little backdrop on who Abraham is, and then we're going to
begin on his faith.
Yeah. And this is I say this just about every time, a incredible, call it story. It's a story, but it's true, right? But anyway, so.
Well, I call it history.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, history, for sure. So, Dave, go ahead. Yeah, for us.
Well, anyway, like I say, he's from the land of Ur. And his father and those people were idol worshippers. They didn't worship the one true God. So, talk about being called out. Abram was called out from this place where false gods were being worshipped.
Yeah.
And here, God is fixing to start his covenant with Abraham, which the Messiah will come to deliver us from sin.
And we can't forget about his nephew Lot.
That's another story.
And his wife, yeah.
We'll have to come up with a song for him.
Exactly.
Something with salt in it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So he gets called out. God makes a covenant with him. And I think David wants to go to where his name was changed from Abraham.
Yep.
That'd be in chapter 17 of Genesis.
Yep. So why was his name changed? Go ahead.
It says, when Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, I am Almighty God. Walk before me and be blameless, and I will make my covenant between me and you, and will multiply you exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, as for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be father of many nations. No longer shall your name be called Abram, but your name shall be Abraham, for I have made you a father of many nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of you, and kings shall come from you. And I will establish my covenant between me and you and your descendants after you in their generations for an everlasting covenant, to be God to you and your descendants after you. And I give to you and your descendants after you the land in which you are a stranger, all the land of Canaan, as an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. So, I don't think this is the first time he made this covenant with him. So there,
now, yeah.
Here's where chapter 17 is his name from Abram to Abraham.
Yep. So now, God sends Abraham and Sarah on, I call them side quests. You know, they go to, like I said, the Egyptians. And then he lies.
Yeah, and they're wondering, yeah.
And then he lies
This is before he has any kids.
Yep. And he lies to the Pharaoh and says, this is my sister, which is half truth, right? But this is not my wife, this is my sister, and then, you know, blah, 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 blah. So.
Yeah, I think the idea was that if he found out his wife, that Pharaoh would kill him just to get from him.
Yep,
so
but
it's just my sister. But they were related, though.
They were.
Yeah.
Again, it was a half truth. But now,
so he only told a half lie.
so we can look at Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, David, so on and so forth, right? We can see them, and we know their stories. We know what they're famous for, and you also got this man we call Jesus. What was he famous for? I don't know. That's what we're covering on Tuesday nights. So stay tuned. So we know what Abraham is facing at that point, right? But Abraham is stuck right here. He doesn't know what all is going on. Now later on, in the burning bush, that's another story. Moses. Anyway, so I was about to get off on a tangent there, but I'm not going.
You're just going down the line of Abraham's descendants.
Yeah.
So whatever you say, you're coming from Abraham.
Yep. True. So, but all that to say, they would not have killed him because the Pharaoh said, "Dude, if you would have just told me, everything would have been okay." Like, so we have this idea right now that if I do whatever, right, something bad or good will happen, right? But that's all in the brain. It doesn't. The end result doesn't mean you get punished or blessed or a pat on the back or whatever. But it could go both ways, Like
what you can look at is that he's already been called out of Ur. He's already been wandering around over in Canaan and all these places. And so I think going down to Egypt, God's already made this covenant with him.
Right.
I mean, of course, he told him a lie, but we don't have the law, but still I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But he should have realized that if he made this covenant and he hasn't had this child yet, he should have known that nothing was going to happen to him. But human thinking sinks in.
Human thinking. Yep. That's true. So, and Sarah laughs, and they said an angel came to her, right, and said,
"Well, she overheard.
Hey, you're going to have a baby."
You know them. I think that came. 3 images showed up. They was heading towards Sodom and Gomorrah.
Right.
I think this must have been. I don't know if it was there or later. Anyway, she overheard.
Right.
And that's why she laughed.
Yep. And she said, "I'm an old woman. I can't have a baby." Beforehand, she gets pregnant by who?
Who?
Sarah.
She only gets pregnant once.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, who was that they got? Oh, that's later on.
He fathered Ishmael through Haggai.
There you go.
Abraham,
That's it. Yep. So,
because since Sarah thought she couldn't have any, she handed over.
That's it. That's the one. Yeah.
Have a child through her.
Yep. Someone was telling me that they were going to do that here, and I'm thinking, okay, that sounds good to me. They said, wait, it was in the Bible, and I'm thinking,
well,
don't do that.
There are cultures today, especially among the Eskimos.
Yeah.
That they offer their wives to their guests to sleep with.
I've heard that. Yep.
And if you turn them down, that's an insult.
Yep. True. Which brings us to Genesis 22.
This is where he takes him. I'll tell you what.
Now this is the story.
Do you have the transition on about the birth of Isaac?
I do.
Go ahead and read. Let's go ahead and read that.
Read the transition? Okay.
Yeah, the birth of Isaac.
So both Abraham and Sarah laughed. So both of them laughed in disbelief that a couple of well past childbearing age should bear a son. Yet, in fulfillment of God's promise, and by the way, God always keeps his promises. Abraham, age 100, fathered Isaac, and his wife Sarah, age 90, Sarah's first concern was her new son's status as Abraham's heir, as a status threatened by Hagar's son Ishmael. Ishmael was now about 14 years old, being 13 at his circumcision. Yeah. You.
So, if that's the case, Abraham was probably circumcised around 87 years old.
Man. But yeah, it's kind of like what we talked about in the last session, David. Culture. You know.
Well, this
was God's law.
This is part of the covenant.
Yeah. This is God's law. This is part of the covenant. Yeah. You're right. An ancient Near Eastern law code describes the practice of giving one's maid as a second wife. See the birth of Ishmael. The law provided protection for children born to the second wife. It prohibited the deshattering of
The disinheriting.
The disinheriting of a firstborn son for a slave of a slave wife, Ishmael, in the event that a barren upper class wife should later bear a son, Isaac. However, the upper class wife's son would supersede the slave wife's son as the legal firstborn. Furthermore, the slave wife and her children should be offered their freedom, in which case they forfeited their inheritance. Isaac did become Abraham's heir. Representing one case in which the younger son received the inheritance and blessing. Which brings us to the story.
So Isaac is born. Sends off Hagar and Ishmael. And now Abraham's faith is confirmed. It's the story that David wants to get into.
Yes, sir.
Because it represents a lot.
A lot. And we'll get into it. All right, go ahead.
Let's see. How many verses we got here?
It's a whole chapter.
19. Okay, I'll read the first 10.
Great. Yeah, that's perfect.
It says, now it came to pass after these things that God tested Abraham and said to him, Abraham, and he said, here I am. And he said, take now your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah and offer there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains, of which I shall tell you. So Abraham rose early in the morning and saddled his donkey and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and he split the wood for the burnt offering, and arose and went to the place of which God had told him. Then on the 3rd day, Abraham lifted his eyes and saw the place far off. And Abraham said to his young men, "Stay here with the donkey, the lad, and I will go yonder and worship, and we will come back to you." So Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son, and he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and the 2 of them went together. Isaac spoke to Abraham his father and said, "My father." He said, "Here I am, my son." Then he said, "Look, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?"
Oh, I love this.
And Abraham for a burnt offering. So the 2 of them went together. Then they came to a place of which God had told him, and Abraham built an altar there and placed the wood in order, and he bound Isaac his son and laid him on the altar upon the wood, and Abraham stretched out his hand and took the knife to slay his son.
So there's a couple of things here that's just incredible. So he tells his servants to stay here with the donkey. We will come back. Guess what? We will come back. So you see, automatically, Abraham has this, I guess, this preconceived idea that, okay, I'm going to be the father of many nations. I can't count the sand of the seas. That's how many sons I'm going to have, right? So he knows that I'm either going to kill my son and God's going to resurrect him, right?
He said, "We."
Exactly. Or the Lord will provide, because that's what it said. Instring.
There's a few other nuances in here.
Go.
Like
Let's hear it.
it says that this. Let's see, where did I see that? It says that on the 3rd day. Well, what?
Ooh.
The 3rd day.
Ah.
The resurrection.
Yes, sir.
Abraham lifted his eyes and saw the place afar off.
Now, the Bible. Let me get my old-fashioned.
The Holman.
No. Well, Holman knows. So the Bible is 100% a prophetic book. Now, this isn't anyone telling me this. This isn't David. This isn't anyone particularly telling me this is just what I believe. I'll first tell you what I used to believe, and then I'll tell you what I believe now, right? So you got now this is referencing the Bible, right? You got your Old Testament, everything before Jesus came, and the New Testament is everything after Jesus came, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I used to say everything, which now this is what I still do believe. Everything from the Old Testament is pointing to Jesus, right? And I used to say, well, I still believe that, but I used to say everything, which were in the times of the Gentiles, right? That everything points back to Jesus. But hold it, wait a second. Everything points to Jesus' birth or his coming, and guess what? Everything's pointing towards Jesus' second coming, because he already came first. So everything points to Jesus. It's all about Jesus. Now here's a book by Kenneth Buck. He done a marvelous job on researching the cults and occults and religions that well, you've probably heard of them because you might have done more study on it than I have, but it's a fascinating.
Yeah, some that I've never heard of.
Yeah. Fascinating book. Looks like have you ever heard of the Maitreya?
Nope.
What do they believe? You know, there's so many different religions, and guess what? It's kind of like the Jehovah False Witnesses. You know, they can teach something from their Bible, right, the New World Translation, and they can say A, B, C, D, and guess what? Boom, they have you convinced. It says it in the Bible, and guess what? Get in your home King James, NIV, whatever.
Yeah, they're just hoping you don't have one of those kind of Bibles.
Well, no, because they can point out in this. You see, it's the same, and
except places where the big L on Lord
I'm
is made
getting
a
there.
little is a
Yep.
little.
Yeah. Now, okay. Now, I joke around with David all the time, right? King James only. I love the King James. I'm not against the King James. But there's something about the King James that is so beautiful. Right?
I just use it because there's some situations or wording in it that's better suited
Yeah.
to what has been retranslated in other versions.
Right. So whatever version that you get, even the New World Translation, which is, again, the Jehovah's Witness Bible, right? There's quite a few religions in the world, and they all think that they're right, and they can do it by the Bible. By their Bible, by your Bible, by his Bible, whatever. And that is a fascinating thing. But I will say this. If you get your King James Version, now, again, I'm not a King James only person, okay? But I will say this. If you stick with the King James Version, you can win each and every one of these people in this book to the Lord. It is stunning. The Holman Christian Standard Version is my go-to version. It used to be the NIV, and then I read the Holman for the first time. I said, "Oh, I like that." Anyway,
Stick with Amplified.
Amplified's good too. But the point is, all these people have their version. Harder to say, version of this.
Yeah,
right.
But where we're coming from now is, he said after 3 days Abraham looked up, and we know about the resurrection of Jesus.
Yes.
3 days in the grave.
Right.
Now, when you start getting like the Witness Bible,
Yes.
they're going to deny that.
Right.
I think they think Jesus is still.
No, he dissolved.
Oh, did he?
Yep, he dissolved, and he came back in 19 several years ago, and he came back invisibly.
Is that according to their belief?
Yeah.
Or is that some other?
No, that's what the Jehovah's Witnesses. Anyway, how do we get up on that? Only one Jesus. You got to have that one. The Jesus of the Bible.
Now here's another nuance.
Yeah, go ahead.
We just read.
Yeah.
It says here.
It's all about Jesus. Go ahead.
In verse 6, so Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son, and he took the fire in his hand. And the two of them went together. What does the symbolism of Isaac carrying the wood?
Jesus carrying the cross.
Right. Oh man, this is getting good. Everything's pointing towards exactly what And what did Abraham say to him? Thy son, thy only son that you love.
I'm getting chill bumps. Love it.
So here we start off just like in the New Testament.
Just like the New Testament, absolutely.
In Matthew, Mark, Luke.
Yep. And
We're seeing a parallel here.
Yeah.
And so David's going to go ahead and read the next about 9 verses and see if we can dig some more parallels out of.
Absolutely. And you gotta say this too, David. Me and David, we both, I know I do. Heck, I know David too, have a lot of crazy goofball ideas. But one thing that we got right is Jesus. And guess what? We can have what's wrong, but you got that Jesus right. Because that, I mean, all jokes aside, which you could probably tell me and David have fun, discussing, the flood or the end times or whatever. Why are clams at the top of Mount Everest? Well, guess what? It doesn't matter. In the end game, Jesus is what matters. We both got Jesus right. So, and I hope you do too.
And this is going to happen in the 4 Gospels.
Let's do it. Verse 10, right?
11. Start with 11.
So with 11. Okay. But the angel, here he is. Come on in.
I see what the problem is.
Yep.
I brought my small group with me. We've been out to eat.
Hey.
I love your
Are
house.
y'all
Well,
live?
thank you.
Are
We're
y'all-
God, it's gorgeous.
live.
We're live. We're on the radio live broadcast.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, come on in.
Sorry.
Come on in, pull up a chair.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm kind of careful.
Oh,
I do love your house.
oh, thank you.
We just came by to visit. Make sure y'all got this under control.
Yep, we got it.
Okay. Yeah, we just left to eat and we've been roaming around. I said, let's go by and see David Ford.
Okay. A little intermission here.
Hey, we might as well pick this up later if you want to.
No, y'all go ahead. We'll leave.
You don't have to leave.
Hey, how often does he get company?
Isn't that, well, how often is he at home to get company? That is more appropriate.
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Let me show them the rest of the house. They're all excited about the house.
Okay. Cool. All right, where are we at?
There's the verse 11.
Verse 11. Okay. But the angel of the Lord. Okay, I have to stop there. It'd be kind of like Don here. Angel, capital A, of the Lord, capital L. I wonder who that could be. Could that be Jesus? Is it Christophany? Is that the Christophany? For that?
Theophany.
Theophany. That's
But this is just the voice.
yeah. But the angel.
Because of it could be Jesus speaking here.
Yeah, it could be. So the angel of the Lord called him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham. If you want another cool study, you got to try to find all the times where God or Jesus calls twice. Abraham is one. There's a significance to that, I think. It's fascinating. And he said, "Here I am." And he said, "Do not lay your hand on the lad." See y'all. Have a great day. Great night. Come back to see us. Anyway, so Abraham. Let's see. I lost my place, guys.
12.
12, yep. And he said, "Do not lay your hand on the lad or do anything to him, for I know that you fear God." That's a good, healthy thing for everyone to have, is the fear of God, right? The fear of God, since you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me.
Okay, hold it right there.
Yes, sir.
There's another parallel. Because that's what God is doing with Jesus, his son.
Yep.
Same here.
Only son.
And he's not withholding him, he's sending him
That's it.
the virgin birth.
Yes, sir. That's it. Then Abraham lifted his eyes and looked up towards heaven, and there was a lamb caught in the thicket by its horns. So Abraham went and took the lamb and offered it up for a burnt offering instead of his son. And Abraham called the name of the place, the Lord will provide. You got anything on that?
Another parallel.
Go ahead.
He provided his only son.
Absolutely.
He provided.
But it's also a dual meaning for that. What do you think about this? You know, the Lord will always provide.
Yeah, but this is special.
Yeah.
Special.
Hey, Dave, kind of like the God moment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's an actual God moment. God showed up and showed out there. As it is to this day in the mount of the Lord, it shall be provided. Then the angel of the Lord called Abraham a second time out of heaven and said, I myself, I have sworn, says the Lord, because you have done this thing, they have not withheld your son, your only son. That's significant. Now there's a principle of the 2 or 3 mentioned, right? Have you heard that, David? If there's more than 2 or 3 times in the Bible that is being said, there's a significance to it. Have you heard that?
Yeah, especially when you get in the New Testament, and they use the word holy. They say it 3 times.
3 times, exactly.
Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
That's it. Blessing, I will bless you, and multiply, I will multiply your descendants as the stars of heaven. There's a lot of folks there. And as the sun, which is on the seashore. And your descendants shall possess the gate of the enemies in your seed. All nations of earth shall be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice. So, David, I have a question. How does this apply to us today? Does it?
We are one of them nations
Exactly.
because the intention is for the gospel to go out.
Yep.
So that's how we are blessed. We are, I guess you say, we are the children of Abraham. Though the Jews don't like us saying that.
Right? Yeah, that's true. Let's finish this up though. So Abraham returned to his young man, and they rose and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. Wow. Fascinating
Such
story.
a parallel to the cross.
Such a yeah, exactly.
And reading this, something just, an idea popped in my head. And I was thinking about Mary and the virgin birth. How we came in a virgin birth.
Right.
And I said, there's a parallel with Abraham and Sarah there. They couldn't comprehend a birth in old age. So there's a parallel for that too.
That's very good point.
I mean, it just, I guess you say it's a God moment.
Exactly. You got to have those God moments.
So it's hard to have a child in old age. It's hard to have a child without sex. It took care of the impossibles on both ends.
There you go.
Wow.
That's good.
I'll never forget that.
That's good. And in the next session, we will talk about Lot and the pillar of salt. You want to wait for?
We're going to have to come up with a song.
Ah.
When we come up with a song, we'll be back with you.
Yep. We'll see you later.
Even if it might be on the road.
Down the road. Yep.